Now, a common question for the terrain movement is, why do antibiotics seem to work? Of course, people seem to get great results with antibiotics, but in brief, the story here is that you're cutting off the healing systems. There's no doubt that antibiotics kill pathogens. There's no doubt about it. And this is really important to understand. You know, if you look at pathogens from a bioremediating standpoint, from a healing standpoint, you don't necessarily want to cut off your healing systems, right? So that's why we advocate against antibiotics here in the terrain movement. Now, of course, this is very obvious when you've had this point of view, but when it comes to penicillin, you know, it's touted as one of the greatest advancements in medicine in the history of our people. And the reality of the situation too is that antibiotics in acutely severe situations, you know, in situations of sepsis, can be very beneficial, right? If it's going to kill you, if your healing symptoms are so overwhelming that they are going to kill you and take you out, which they can, no one's denying that either, antibiotics might be the right choice for you in that situation. But generally, you know, in the West at least, we have a terrible overprescription of antibiotics. Now, back to the microbes, the important thing to understand is that microbes are bioremediators, right? They are cleaning up the environment of your body, the diseased environment of your body. Now, microbes also have a lot of roles in just normal processes of the body, you know, the microbiome that we live in, not just in your gut, but everywhere in your body. You know, that's really important to consider too, right? So when you do take antibiotics, emergency situations to me seem like the only reasonable way to take them, because at any other given moment, they're non-specific, right? So you're going to be wiping out your gut microbiome especially, but that's going to translate into the rest of your body, because, you know, if you have an infection in your arm, they're giving you antibiotics orally and the antibiotics are traveling there. But it's non-specific. Again, the antibiotics don't know how to go and treat that. It's going into your entire body, right? Through the blood. It's going to be dispersed and it's going to kill these microbes that are beneficial not only in normal processes, but disease as well. The terrain's perspective on healing and symptoms is that the symptoms are the healing processes. And so moving with those symptoms, right? Supporting those symptoms is the real goal of the terrain perspective on healing, right? So we don't want to remove our symptoms because we understand that it's what's healing us, right? My favorite example is the broken finger example. When you break your finger, the inflammation and the swelling comes after you broke your finger to immobilize it, to get more blood flow, to heal it, essentially. Cutting off that inflammation is slowing down the healing process. And so truly the philosophy behind why antibiotics work is the same why all pharmaceutical drugs work, is they're targeting the symptoms. Again, this is admitted by pharmaceutical companies and the pharmaceutical literature. It's the disease-centered model, right? They're aimed at looking and categorizing your diseases into specific subsets, diagnoses, in which we can have generalized cures for treatments, right? So you have this disease, you have this cure, this treatment, but there's also many different drugs that treat one disease because your body may not react right to these drugs, etc., etc. So the underlying philosophy remains the same for antibiotics, for all pharmaceutical drugs. They're addressing the disease state, they're addressing the symptom, they're not addressing the underlying cause, right? There is no search for root cause in the modern perspective. And so this is really, really important to understand, of course, when you're talking about healing and disease specifically. When it comes to antibiotics, the problem is that they are non-specific. They wipe out your entire microbiome. Yes, they work, they relieve symptoms, but it doesn't relieve the underlying toxicity or deficiency or disease state of the body. So that's getting pushed back. And truly, I believe that the suppression of symptoms in acute illnesses is what leads to these chronic illnesses that we have now. These are the real modern diseases. And you can learn about this more through homotoxicology, which we'll cover more in the future. But that's a little area that you can look into now if you're interested. So supporting symptoms is the goal. Getting rid of the microbes or the symptoms or the healing processes of the body is not the goal in the terrain paradigm. If you like this content, subscribe, share, like. Sharing is the best way to get this word out. I really appreciate you all. I hope you enjoyed it. If you found it informative, please let us know. I'd love to discuss in the comments. Take care.